You ever been so incredibly happy that you just start crying? It's a weird feeling, right? You're in a moment of pure joy, and suddenly, tears are streaming down your face. It kind of feels like a glitch in our emotional wiring. Well, guess what? It's not a glitch at all. It's a feature. So let's dive into the surprising science behind these happy tears.
So what is actually going on here? Why does our body respond to extreme happiness with the exact same physical reaction it has for sadness? The answer is pretty fascinating, and it's going to take us on a trip into your brain's control room and even all the way back to your earliest childhood.
I mean, just picture this. You're at the wedding of a close friend. The music starts, they're saying their vows, and you just feel this overwhelming wave of happiness for them. And then, you feel it. That unmistakable lump in your throat.
Or hey, maybe it's a graduation. You watch someone you love walk across that stage, getting their diploma after years of hard work, and next thing you know, you're reaching for a tissue, your vision all blurry with proud, happy tears.
It could even be something like that last-second shot that wins the championship game. The whole crowd just erupts, and right in the middle of all that joy, you see people openly weeping. All of these moments, they're connected by a really surprising biological purpose. So what we're talking about here is something scientists actually call the happy tears paradox. And here's the kicker. This isn't your brain getting its wires crossed. This is a highly sophisticated feature, not a bug.
Okay, so the fancy scientific term is dimorphic expressions. Dimorphic literally just means two forms. So it's one expression, crying, showing up for two totally opposite emotions. Your brain isn't confused. It's just being efficient. It's using the same tool for two different but equally powerful jobs.
Okay, so what is that tool actually doing? Well, you can think of it like your brain's built-in pressure release valve. It's a physical system designed to handle moments when things just get, well, too intense.
And this all points to a super important biological principle called homeostasis. All this word means is that your body is on a constant mission to keep everything in balance. Not too hot, not too cold, not too stressed, and yet, surprisingly, not even too overjoyed.
A great way to think about it is like an emotional thermostat. When the emotional temperature gets turned up way too high, and it doesn't matter if it's from joy or sorrow, this system just kicks on to bring things back to a stable, manageable level.
So let's break down how this reset button actually works. First, bam, you get a massive spike in joy. Your brain gets flooded with feel-good chemicals, so much so that it actually overloads your nervous system. In response, your hypothalamus, which is kind of like the brain's control center, activates your tear ducts. The act of crying literally releases that excess emotional and chemical pressure, bringing you back into balance.
This analogy is just perfect. When a kettle boils, it has to let out steam, otherwise the pressure would become too much. Happy tears are your body's way of letting off that steam so you can process an overwhelming positive feeling without short-circuiting.
Now, this explains the how, but it doesn't really explain the who. You know, we all know people who tear up at the drop of a hat, and then others who seem to have their emotions under lock and key. So what's the difference? Well, this is where we shift from universal biology to our own personal psychology. The answer lies in what psychologists call our emotional blueprint. It's this deep-seated programming that dictates how we respond to our feelings. And get this, it was written a very, very long time ago.
This blueprint is the core idea behind something called attachment theory. It suggests that the way our caregivers responded to us when we were infants, whether they were comforting and consistent or maybe distant, that created a template for all our future relationships.
So, the key takeaway here is that this early wiring, formed before you could even talk, is still fundamentally shaping how you trust people, how you see yourself, and the ways you manage intense feelings as a grown-up. It's basically your default emotional operating system.
So let's see how this blueprint actually develops into a few distinct styles. Based on this theory, researchers have identified a few primary attachment styles that really help explain our different emotional tendencies.
Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. Check out the data from a 2024 study. In their sample, a staggering 45% fell into the ambivalent or anxious category. Another 42% were in the avoidant one. You do the math. That leaves only 13% with a secure attachment style. That's kind of wild, right? It suggests that the vast majority of us might have these underlying patterns that make expressing emotion just a little more complex.
And this table breaks it down perfectly. Someone with a secure style generally feels safe and connected, so they tend to express emotions pretty openly. Makes sense. Someone with an ambivalent style might feel anxious and need reassurance, which often leads to higher emotional expression.
And then you have the avoidance style, which values independence and often leads to suppressing emotions to keep others at a safe distance.
Okay, so we've looked at the biology, the brain's release valve, and the psychology, our emotional blueprint. Let's tie it all together and see why this is actually such a powerful thing to understand.
One psychologist described it with this perfect little formula. Basically, crying happens when your personal sensitivity, combined with the meaning of a particular moment, adds up to be more than your unique sensory threshold can handle. It's the perfect intersection of biology and psychology.
So your tears are really telling a story on two different levels. They're a sign that your brain is doing its job, regulating an intense moment with homeostasis. And they're also a reflection of your heart's personal history, your attachment style, and everything you've learned about whether it's safe to express deep emotion.
And this might be the most crucial point of all. This isn't about being a man or a woman, or about being strong or weak. Crying is a fundamental, biological, and psychological part of the human experience. It's a sign that something matters deeply to you.
You know, by understanding your own emotional blueprint, you gain this incredibly powerful tool. It gives you self-awareness about why you react the way you do, and it builds empathy for why other people might react so differently. It's not about judgment, it's about understanding the programming. So the next time you find yourself tearing up during a happy moment, don't just brush it aside. Instead, ask yourself this: what is this moment telling me about what's happening in my brain? And more importantly, what's it revealing about what's written in my heart?